Hi, I'm Alyssa Kraft, and this is my Module 13 for EDL 850, talking about tort liability. First, to define what tort liability is, according to our Pocket Guide to School Law, written by Essex, it said a tort is an actionable or civil wrong committed against one person by another that is independent of contract. So basically, anything you do to purposefully hurt somebody else. And there are two types of tort cases that show up most frequently in educational settings, and that is intentional, where the offense is committed with the intent to harm someone, and negligence, where you fail to use level of care needed in a situation. The first case I found that I decided to talk about was Johnson Johnson versus the School District of Maillard, which was in Nebraska in 1998. Basically, in this case, it was a first grade class, and the music teacher was teaching them how to sing and play London Bridge, where you link arms and rock someone gently between the two. And the teacher got them started and then turned her back. A lot of the kids said she was writing on the board. She said she was helping another student, but her back was turned, and a kid, the Johnson boy, was rocked very hard between two kids, and somehow he ended up getting thrown into a bookshelf, which required stitches. He also had some blurred vision and headaches from it, so I'm assuming a concussion. The outcome of the case was the Johnson boy was awarded $21,000, and they found that Patton was negligent for not supervising her class. Um, the when I think about this case, it's something that happens every day, that I will start kids on something and then I'll go do something else or help somebody else. And so it's kind of shocking to me that this situation, the teacher really was at fault. When I think about our school policies and what we would do, some reactive measures I think our school would take would be questioning several of the witness students, asking them what happened, questioning the teacher, get her side and document all that. And then I could see my boss immediately going and talking to all the other staff members to remind them that you can't do that. Some proactive measures that could be taken is have a well-designed classroom area so that you can help students without turning your back on them and you can see everything. Also, clear classroom rules and expectations so that the boys who were rocking the Johnson boy, maybe they would have met those expectations and not done something that could get him hurt in the end. The second case I had was Mitchell versus the Cedar Rapids Community School District, which is in Iowa, and this case was in 2013. This case was very kind of disturbing and interesting in the same, but due to it being a minor and a special needs student, the name isn't released, so they just had initials DE. And they were suing a special education teacher. So what happened was DE had got permission from her mom to, after school, ride the bus to a friend's house, and the girl and that friend actually just went ahead and skipped their last hour of the day, which was Mrs. Beidenbach's class, the teacher in question here. They skipped it, and they ended up meeting up with some other students and didn't go to the house they were supposed to. While she was at this gentleman's house, another kid showed up and actually raped her, and they shot a BB gun at her. And then they went to the friend's house. She called her mom, got picked up. And the mom sued the school for not reporting her missing a class to the authorities or to the mother. They did mark her absent. The teacher had marked her absent in like their online absentee thing, but they didn't pursue it further, going and actually finding her location. So they felt the school was accountable, and the outcome was actually that they awarded DE $500,000, with 70% of the fault being of the schools and 30% to herself. I thought it was interesting that it didn't mention anything about this part, with the the boy in question. I think that was a separate trial in case. Some reactive measures I could see is reprimanding the teacher for not pursuing the student's location. Right away I could see the administration getting upset that the teacher didn't do more. Documenting all the events and making sure they're documented, and then reviewing the handbook policies to make sure that they're adequate. Some proactive measures I could have seen is making sure teachers are trained in Power School and the office staff so that right away when those absences come in that they can figure out if the kid is excused or not. And just stressing the importance of taking Roll H hour, which our school already does. We get that every year, how important that is. The third case was in Alabama in 2002. I especially like this one because I teach shop, not woods. Like this case, I teach metals, but I thought that it was a case that, was kind of down my area. What happened was Keith Wright was in a cabinetry class and they were using a shaper, and his teacher was Mr. Peacock, and Mr. Peacock had shown the class how to use the shaper. They'd taken safety tests and he had demonstrated it that day. And this kid in question, right, he had already used it several times, and it was on his last cut, his hand got into the cutter part. And when they reviewed OSHA standards, the handbook for the shaper, the family thinks that there wasn't enough guards in place and that the teacher had removed a piece of fencing that would have prevented his hand from being able to be cut by the cutter. And so they went ahead and sued him for negligence on having the equipment safe. The outcome of the case was the court filed in favor of the plaintiff, and the school right away filed for an appeal, and it was denied. Some reactive measures is making sure there's documentation of the injury. Our school has specific forms for injuries, and so anytime that happens, you go through the correct channels. And then, of course, question all the other witnesses present to see what really happened. Maybe check with manufacturers to see if the fencing was necessary or not. Some proactive things is always inspect your equipment, and those safety exams are very important. The fourth one that I did was Scott versus Savers. This was in Wisconsin in 2003. Ryan Scott was a junior at the time, and he was very interested in playing Division I hockey at the University of Alaska. Him and his parents met with the school's counselor to get ready for his senior year, make sure that he had all his credits that would make him eligible to play for a Division I team. And there was a certain class, it was like media communications or something like that, that he was going to take as his fourth English credit, and the counselor told him that was fine. He went to a JUCO for a couple years and then was going to transfer into the University of Alaska, and they said that class did not fulfill the requirements, making him ineligible to get that scholarship. So the school took back his scholarship money, and so they were suing the school for that to get that money back so he could afford college. The outcome of this case was the court actually dismissed the case due to lack of consideration. There was nothing binding with what the counselor had said, and so the school actually won. Reactive measures, I would say that our school would review all documented enrollment policies, and they would probably visit with the college about those credits, make sure that everything that is being said was true. Some proactive stuff is having an individual plan of study for each kid. If you start when they're freshmen and build their schedule and with what they want, you could ensure that all those credits are met, and then make information sheets to send home for parents and students so they're 100% informed. And then the last case was Cooper versus the Paulding School District. This was in Georgia in 2004. um, a mother of a student, Lenora Cooper, sued the school because she was leaving the school property and her car collided with an entrance gate. And she and her 4 children were injured. She actually hit the gate and got knocked unconscious, and then her car went and hit a tree off school property. The school had known the gate wasn't working. Something had happened to it over the weekend, but they thought they had fixed it that morning. And she felt that they should have marked it out of order, or that the damages should have for sure been fixed correctly. And the court did go and rule in favor of Cooper, and so it didn't say what she was rewarded through that trial, but she did win the case. Some reactive measures is to possibly review security footage to see what really happened with the gate, and then to review maintenance forms. I'm sure anytime things like that are worked on, they fill out a form. Some proactive measures would be mark off any non-functioning equipment until it's been properly tested, and then to immediately fix the damaged equipment. Overall, having a good ethic plan for yourself and your school is a way that you could really help with tort liability cases. They talk a lot in the book and in the resources about having common sense and doing what a reasonable person would do in situations. Being honest is really important too, so that if there is an incident, you can know that they trust you to be honest with them and just keep that intact. And then accurate documentation, I felt like, is very important no matter what the situation is. It's hard as teachers to find the time to document everything, but if you have written it down, you're going to be a lot more credible. Thank you.